Okay, we stay in Africa, but we move from Guinea and Mali to Ivory Coast. I'm happy to welcome Adam Spencer of Montage Gold. They have a quite developed project. Please come on our stage. Adam, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Hi.
All right. Well, thanks very much for the introduction, and thanks everyone for attending the presentation. So I'll get started. So Montage Gold, we are focused in Côte d'Ivoire, and our flagship asset is the Koné project. Skip through these slides. So as you can see there on the map, we're in northwest Côte d'Ivoire. I'll get into all these details as we go through, but just one thing I want to highlight right from the start is our team. So we're led by Rick Clark as our CEO and Hugh Stewart as our president. In that team, those two individuals together grew Redback Mining into what it became ultimately as a $7 billion sale to Kinross in 2010, and that was from operations in Ghana and in Mauritania. Following that success, Rick and Hugh established Orca Gold to go into Sudan. They made a major discovery at the Block 14 project, advanced that project through feasibility and permitting, and sold that company to Perseus last year. So it's a team of recognized experts in Africa with strong backing by the Lundin family and a great shareholder list, which I'll get into. But we're essentially looking to build upon that success with the same strategy for Montage. And with the Koné asset that I'll get into in the presentation, I think you'll agree that this is also a company maker and one that should attract significant interest from the suite of mid-tier and major mining companies operating in West Africa. So there's the team. I've touched on it already, but notably, in addition to Rick Clark and Hugh Stewart, we also have the former CFO of Redback on our board, and the Chief Operating Officer from Redback is the Chief Operating Officer for Montage as well. So we have the depth of experience and team to essentially do the same thing that was very successful in the past with both Redback and Orca Gold. Just touch briefly on our shareholder base. As you can see, we do have some notable corporates on the register. Perseus Mining is a roughly 18% shareholder. They received that equity stake upon their acquisition of Orca Gold. Montage was a spin-out from Orca back in 2019, and that equity stake stayed in Orca through the acquisition by Perseus. Perseus, as you probably know, have 2 operating mines in Côte d'Ivoire, in addition to an operation in Ghana. Barrick and Endeavour are also notable shareholders. I'll get into how that happened later on, but essentially we acquired ground from them to expand upon the Koné Gold footprint. It gives us a lot of exploration potential, which we're now drilling, and we're well funded to do so. Capital structure is very simple. 185 million shares outstanding. Cash on hand is around $16.5 million. I think when you look at our company, given the strength of our shareholder base and the success of our management team, we're in a unique position where we're able to raise money from a very strong list of backers that allows us to do deals that are essentially priced flat to market or even a slight premium in some cases with no warrants. So it's a very clean capital structure, I think a very shareholder-friendly capital structure, and obviously some great shareholders backing us. So just getting into the project a bit more, it is district scale. On this map here on the right-hand side, that area that is shown represents about 25 million ounces of gold in terms of historic production and current inventories of resources and reserves. Our package around Koné is around 2,200 square kilometers. It's 100% owned, and that includes the growth from the recent acquisition that we completed from Barrick and Endeavour. As a starting point, we have the Koné deposit. It's a 3.4 million ounce reserve. Total resource at Koné is over 4.5 million ounces. We advanced that project to feasibility stage last year. In February, we published the economics of the feasibility study. So that's the starting point. And you can see some of the metrics here. I'll spend some time on this slide. What Koné offers is significant scale, both in terms of mine life and production, with a low cost structure. There are a few reasons why the cost structure is so low. First of which is the strip ratio. Strip ratio here is very unique. It's less than 1:1. The ore body itself is very wide and homogeneous. Average true width is 200 meters throughout the ore body. The mineable width at surface is upwards of 300 meters wide. So that gives you the advantage of using very large mining equipment, keeping unit mining costs down. In addition, the bond work index is low, 11 kilowatt hours per ton. If you looked across the landscape of projects in West Africa, that is at the low end of the scale, and that directly translates to power costs being a lower percentage of your unit cost structure. And so on the bottom of the slide there, you can see our total operating costs are under $16 per ton. Of that 16, $8 per ton is processing, which is a significant advantage for us when we think about exploring for high-grade satellite pits that would be trucked and mined at the plant that would be built at Koné. And as you can see there, the NPVs on the right-hand side at the bottom, significant leverage to the gold price at current spot prices. This is a $1.4 billion NPV project. So I've touched on it briefly already, but we did do a consolidation transaction involving Barrick and Endeavour last year, which closed in November of 2022. And essentially, I don't have a pointer here, but effectively the ground in the middle there, I'll just point on the slide right now. So this permit here and these two permits here form about 1,000 square kilometers. And that was ground held under joint venture by Barrick and Endeavour. It was 70% Barrick, 30% Endeavour. And over the course of, call it 10 years, it had been explored for what I would characterize as a Barrick scale target, which would be, a 3 to 5 million ounce discovery at 3+ grams that can produce 500,000 ounces a year, that type of thing. After a period of time, they determined that type of target wasn't there. But for us, where we have the Koné deposit that sits at the southern end of that district, that has, strong economics and scale on its own, this land package is highly relevant to what we're looking to do. And what that is to explore for high-grade satellites that will enhance the overall grade of the project. Off the top, we have the Bongo main deposit, which sits kind of right in the middle of the land package here. It's 350,000 ounces at 2.1 grams. That average grade is more than 3 times the grade of the Koné deposit itself. And so when you think about sequencing in that material, we anticipate it to have a very material and significant impact on both the production of the project as well as the economics of the project. So we just completed a financing. We're well funded with about $16.5 million in the bank. And what we're doing with that money right now is exploring that district systematically for the first time. And what that includes is around 40,000 meters of drilling, which includes shallow air core drilled in grids on various targets, follow-up RC for resource definition, and then core drilling where warranted for further resource development and test work purposes. And as we go through this year, the aim at the end of the year is to revise the economic study on the Koné project, factoring in one or more high-grade satellite targets, with a view that we would be submitting the mining permit application early next year to de-risk the project and turn this into a shovel-ready, construction-ready project. This is a bit more detail on the Bongo main deposit, which I've touched on. It's worth noting that this deposit, the resource calculation that we published was based on just 11 historic drill holes, and that was enough to generate 350,000 ounces at 2.1 grams, which is key to consider, given that if we were to replace the cost of that drilling, that would cost $750,000, maybe $1 million in drilling. But the impact of that type of exploration is inversely proportionate to the amount of money that you're spending when you think about factoring in, call it plus 2 gram material into a mill with a cost structure as low as Koné's. Here's a cross section. We do see growth potential for Bongo main at depth down plunge. We are planning to test it further to depth. We've been drilling this deposit with two primary objectives. One, to grow it, upgrade the grade, but also to upgrade the overall confidence of the resource to allow us to include it in the revised feasibility study that we'll put out at the end of this year. This is the broader area around Bongo, and as you can see there on the right-hand side, there's an IP survey that was done that shows a very distinct north-south break. The area to the north there with the question mark is a look-alike signature to what hosts the Bongo deposit already. That's never been tested. To the south, we've been drilling and we've hit some good reconnaissance holes on Bongo South, 36 meters at 2.4 grams, 21 meters at 3 grams. We will be following that up with some RC drilling to see what kind of resource potential there is in that immediate area. And then as we continue to the south, another area called Diuma North on the same structural trend. Again, we've hit some good ore grade mineralization that will be followed up. And the point being is that in a land package of this size, given how much historic work's been done, and with our own interpretation of those results and new theories, we see the probability of discovering multiple satellite pits in time as being very high. This is a further zoomed out look at that portion of the district. Bongo sits right here. Bongo goes south and Diuma North. This is about a 15-kilometer corridor with multiple targets that we've been drilling that are showing potential that will be followed up. And then finally, here's another target that's further to the northeast of the land package. Bongo sits right here. This is Yere North. This is an area that had a little bit of work done by Barrick, a few trenches, a couple RC holes. We had a really good result there about a month ago, 27 meters at 9 grams. Not something we were expecting, but obviously very happy to get that kind of result. And we're following up with RC drilling on this target. So I guess the takeaways here is that you have the underpinnings of already a very robust economic standalone project at Koné that will only get better with exploration on the ground that we've acquired. We have a team that has demonstrated success over the last 15 or 20 years operating in Africa with the backing of the Lundin family. And the strategy for Montage is essentially the same thing. Take this company to a point in time, de-risk it, demonstrate value, and ultimately generate liquidity and an exit for our shareholders and make a lot of money doing so. The news flow over the course of this year will be fairly frequent. With the drill program that we have ongoing, I would expect that we'll have updates on exploration during the drilling season of around once a month to 1.5 times every couple of months, with a view, as I said, to submit the revised feasibility study at the end of this year and then go down the permitting path to de-risk the project further in 2024. And so that's the end of the story. If there's time, I'll take some questions.
Yes, thank you, Adam. So do we have questions?
For the Bongo main, there's a 350,000 resource off 9 holes?
350,000 ounces off of 11 historic drill holes.
And
yeah.
2.1 grams per ton.
Correct. Yeah.
How deep was that?
The
really make it out on the slide. So
yeah, I'd say it's in the top, call it 220 meters from surface,
okay.
something like that.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, thanks for a great presentation. I just have a question about the drilling season.
Sure.
Has it started yet? Or?
Yeah, the drilling season is well underway. It's actually probably nearing its end in certain areas. It's worth noting that we have an asphalt road that goes to the Koné project site that allows us to drill year-round there, even during the rainy season. When I go back and look at this map, I guess I can't anymore, but that's fine. There will be areas that we're able to drill during the rainy season, or at least we expect to be able to. It really comes down to road access and the quality of the roads. The rainy season starts kind of, let's say, late May, early June, and ends in, call it late September, early October. And so your kind of prime drilling would be kind of late October until late May. Yeah.
Questions? Okay, if not, which booth do you have?
Oh, I'm room 14.
14.
Yeah.
So if you want to have one-to-one, please contact Adam.
Great.
Thank you very much. We will have a
Thanks a
lunch
lot.
break now.